Now we go to the critique to the supernaturalism or God and ethics. We need to note that there are preceding videos or previous videos prior to this, and know that there are concerns can that are addressed already on the previous videos and no longer addressed here. Here we only focus on the positive and the negative things, on the critique to the supernaturalism. And as we uh, start this new series of videos for the supernaturalism, we need to refresh that we're referring here to an existence beyond the visible or observable universe. So it goes beyond what is natural. It utilizes natural like the reason, but it goes beyond. Hence, it is called supernatural. So it's relating to God or to the divine or the deity, using our reason and also going beyond the reason. It is also connected to religion because this religion is the service and worship of God or the supernaturalism. Hence, they may interchange when we use the term supernaturalism, God, religion, spirituality, theism, deity, church, or the divine, and other terminologies we use here in supernaturalism. Here we discuss the positive and negative things in religion or of supernaturalism as one of the foundations or the reason why we include this topic in the ethics. Starting from the positive things of religion or supernaturalism, we include precisely because there are good things that we can learn from them, as can be the ethical standards of morality. Here, according to Richard Holloway, he said that this reality of God proves its importance throughout the history because the people who believe in God are the key factor that stopped the oppressive cultures of the society like slavery, killings, degradation of women, and others. We also know from the Gospels of Christianity or also of Islam and of Judaism, which is very much centered on love, the love of God, love of neighbor, love of self, and even the love of enemies. These positive things in supernaturalism, it stops the negative cultures and it promotes the positive practices like the care for environment, value of life, peace, and other positive things that happened in the history. God as the common ground to most of the Filipinos or of the people might even be a good avenue for the attainment of unity and universal peace. On the other hand, this belief in God also confuses many people, resulting to the malpractices, divisions, hatred, and wrongdoings in the name of God. There are wars in the name of their God, terrorism, and other violence which can be traced in the belief in God. There are Holocaust, suicide bombers, Inquisition, crusades, religious wars, colonization, extremisms, and others. But if it is true, all the more there is a need to study about this in order to correct and avoid the tragedy brought by some religions. With all those realities, the topic discussion about God or the supernaturalism must not be limited only in the church or of religion, but more so in the field of education and in ethics. The school has the main responsibility of teaching this topic and not just the religion, because the proper and sound understanding about God in general is very crucial for our society, for it may either help or obstruct to the development of the country. We highlighted here in the guise of religion, for if there may be real atrocities committed in the name of God, but most of them are just facade to the real culprit, which are the human greed, thirst for power, authoritarianism, fundamentalism, totalitarianism, and other forms of extremism. For example, the inquisitors or the missionaries, they are the church people versus the conquistadors or the people of the state, like the soldiers and the government leaders. We have that famous imagery, cross and the sword. But actually, most of the crimes are the crimes of the swords or of the conquistadors, whose mission is not for the evangelization of the people, but for acquiring gold and lands. There may have there may be real crimes in the name of God, like the Inquisition. The Inquisition is the persecution of the heretics or the people not in line with the Catholic belief. But these are just a small percentage compared to the other crimes of the secular regime. We do not mean to condone the wrongdoings of the religion. We also condemn those acts. The Catholic, for example, have already done many things to make reparations of their sins from the past, like the Inquisition of Galileo. They also have they also make public statements like the letters of John Paul II asking for forgiveness of the church sin from the past. But the point here is that it is not mainly done in the name of God. Those crimes are not done in the name of God, but just using God in their own interest and agenda like power, land, and territorial expansion and control. And if we really blame faith for or religiously inspired killings, we must not forget that the 100 millions plus people killed by atheist regimes in the past centuries, like the regime of Mao Zedong, Stalin, Hitler, Pol Pot, Lenin, and etc., and others. Though Hitler is known as a Catholic, but according to Cameron and Stevens, Trevor Roper in their books, that it was just the propaganda of Hitler so that many will favor him. It is stated in the book, the Hitler's Table Talk, where Hitler said that don't be afraid to lie in order to make your case. According to Cameron, Stevens, Trevor Roper, they said that Hitler actually hated Christianity, and Hitler used it as a tactic in order to gain favor, and therefore it is in the guise of religion, and could even be in the guise of atheism or the uh, in the guise of the disbelief in God. For actually, those killings are the uh, not just the product of atheism, but it's the product of human greed for power, authority, and acting like God. Again, the point here is that it is the secular regime that has abhorred religion and morality, which caused or resulted to some, if not all, of the heinous killings or crimes throughout the history. So in this critique to the supernaturalism, in terms of the negative things that we see into this moral theory, first is that it is either a guise, just a guise to supernaturalism or a guise to religion. All those crimes, atrocities, scandals committed in the name of religion or the name of God or of supernaturalism is could be just a guise for it is actually the secular regime or the person itself who is doing it, and they just term it in a war, for example, in the name of God, but the behind of it is actually just either political concern or the secular people. Sometimes it is termed as the atheistic regime because, for example, those regimes that have killed millions of people, most of them are atheists, or they abhor religion and they don't believe in God. So that's why they're also accused that it is the atheistic regimes who was killed a lot of people compared to the so-called religious wars. But then I refuse to use the atheistic regimes because it has a lot of discussion to do that. For example, there are authoritarian who are also believers of God, like famously known Hitler, though there are concerns that he's just using his belief in order to gain favor in his cause of war. And then aside from its guise, it's only behind the agenda. Second is that it could also be done by the person itself. If there are really clear religious people who are doing it, for example, priests or bishops or popes or the Muslims or the Jewish people who are committing the crime, it is good to note that it is the person is doing it, and it is not their religious teaching who is causing them to do those crimes. Just like in the education system, for example, if a teacher commits mistake or done a heinous crime or committed a violation, it does not mean that it is the educational system who is teaching the teacher to do so. It was a personal decision. It was a personal act of a person. So same with the supernaturalism or the religious people or the church or of relating to God. It's not in their belief in God that taught them to kill all the people, but it's their personal action, or could be their personal interpretation, wrong interpretation of the correct teaching. For most of the religions are teaching peace, love, and other harmony, which is in contrary to those accusations that these religious people are also committing crimes. So again, it's either a guise, just like this guise, it's actually not done by the religion, but it's on the secular regimes. Second, if there are religious people doing it, it's the person itself and it's not taught by religion. And then third is there is actually also texts that or the records in their sacred books that says that we can see the violence being taught. For example, in the Old Testament, a lot of teachings there about killing, genocide. But the proper response to this is there's a proper interpretation to these things. And here we will discuss the three proper interpretations in guiding the how to read the violence that we can read in the text. For according to Robert Barron, it is one thing that you see there are many things written in the book, and one thing also what is taught in the book. Just like in novel, you can see their killings and defeats and other downsides, but when you see the entire message of the novel, it was not the main teaching for the negative things. So that is our critique to the supernaturalism, or in terms of God and ethics. Some of the detailed discussions are found in the prior videos to this, or from the other videos. For example, the proper interpretation of the violence in the sacred scripture, and also the foundation of teaching the supernaturalism and other topics. But this is it for now in terms of the positive things and the negative things of supernaturalism. There are still many things to discuss and many things to clarify. Nevertheless, we have learned a lot of things already, and all the more we need to learn and study because there are many questions may arise from this discussion. But that is it for today. Hope you watch also the other video discussions. Thank you.